Beth Bliss. I'm the Assistant Manager of the Office of Special Events, and I wanted to thank everyone for attending tonight's opening ceremony to kick off Black History Month. I would also like to thank the Afro American Music Institute for their wonderful performance. In the past, the city has honored many individuals who were trailblazers in many different fields. Writing, artistry, musicians, or first responders. Today, we would like to carry on that tradition and highlight more local African Americans who have made their mark by conserving the past, present, and shaping the future. This year's theme is African Americans in Conservation. We honor those in the Pittsburgh region who have dedicated their talents and skills in preserving and protecting the heritage and culture via public service, arts, music, and science. Now I would like to welcome Chief of Staff Dan Gilman to say a few words.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's truly my pleasure to be here. I do want to take just one moment and thank our incredible special events team. An event like this and events through the month take a lot of team effort, and they all work tirelessly, many nights, many weekends, in rain, sleet, and snow. And I do want to thank Brian Cates, our director, who's not here. He is the largest Eagles fan I know and a Philly native, so he has a well-deserved day off to celebrate, but I thank him and his team. I also want to recognize many City Hall partners who are here, in particular Valerie McDonald-Roberts, our Chief of Bureau of Urban Affairs and Chief Urban Affairs Officer, and also who you'll be hearing from after me, my good friend Dr. Bey. It's always a privilege to share the mic with him. I apologize the mayor's not here tonight. He is currently on an airplane, but I'm here on his behalf to kick off this incredible month and yet another wonderful celebration here on the first floor of the City County building. If you haven't, I encourage you to take a moment to walk around and read about many of the great people we are recognizing, and of course 4 of whom we'll recognize tonight. And when I learned that this month we were going to talk about conservation, I was intrigued, because when I hear that word, oftentimes my first thought is environmental. And of course, Pittsburgh has an incredible history of environmental conservation. But of course, conservation means so much more. It's conserving our history in every way, our musical history, our artistic history, our religious history, our racial history. It's about conserving what Pittsburgh was, good and bad, recognizing where we have failed, acting differently today, and learning from that to plan for the future. And that's so much about what this month is. It's celebrating the shoulders of giants we stand on, who built up the city of Pittsburgh, who built up neighborhoods across western Pennsylvania, who built up cities across this country, many of whom have faced odds that none of us could even imagine, many of whom whose legacies we must conserve. And so tonight, we talk about conservation in some interesting ways, whether it's incredible words and vocals to conserve our history, whether it's gardens in Homewood, dedicating one's life to preserving a neighborhood, to conserving a culture, and to conserving our environment, or whether it's recognizing that one man's trash is another man's treasure, and using art to conserve a generation, using art to conserve one's history. And so I'm proud to recognize the 4 honorees today. I'm proud to recognize all of the people celebrated here on the first floor, and I want to recognize and thank everybody who makes Pittsburgh such a great city in the past, who makes it such a great city today, and who will work together to make it an even better city in the future. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to many great events through the month, and thank you for all you do for our wonderful city.
Okay, first we would like to recognize Amir Rashad. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Amir is an artist in the community. He repurposes trash and whatnot to be art. Oops. Careful on the stairs. Next, we would like to recognize Betty Davis for her work in the community And for her funk music, this is a representative for Miss Davis.
Thank you so much.
Next, we recognize Miss Mary Savage for her work as a community gardener.
Big smile, Miss Mary.
And last but not least, I would like to recognize Jamil Bey. She is a community activist and community gardener. Thank you, Chief of Staff Gilman, and thank you all of our honorees. Next, I would like to introduce to you our keynote speaker for this evening, Dr. Jamil Bey. Dr. Bey is a geographer and community planner. He is also the executive director of the Urban In-Kind Institute, a community-based consulting firm located in the Hilltop. Throughout his career, Dr. Bey has focused on finding solutions toward building better communities through justice, equity, and inclusion. His work embodies the idea of conservation by preserving the cultural of environment and people. With that said, I would like to welcome Dr. Bey.
This is not a keynote. I'm not going to be up here that long. As I'm thinking about tonight and the people who were honored, it's important that you recognize people who've done great things, people that continue to do great things and inspire people. But I'm looking at this list, and these is just regular folks. These are regular folks. Miss Mary and I sit together on the board with the Shade Tree Commission. Raquib and her gardens and her inspiration for gardens and her work with the Food Policy Council and the stuff she's doing organizing young people in Homewood to grow their own food. Mr. Rashid has been in the city forever doing this work. And Miss Betty Davis, who I hear was not able to be here tonight. I used to play music with my cousins, and if you don't know, just YouTube her, one of the nastiest, funkiest funk musicians of all time. But the work that these folks do in preserving and conserving our history, our heritage, our connection to space, our connection to land, it takes me back. I remember growing up, we grew up in McKinley Park. Now, the history is a little warped, but McKinley Park is Pittsburgh's first park. Allegheny is older, but that wasn't a part of Pittsburgh. When Belts Hoover was annexed and the park became a part of it, that even predates Shenley and Mary Shenley's gift to the city. So Belts Hoover takes claim to the first park in the city.